This is Keys to the Shop, episode 254, Holiday Hospitality, part 2. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DeFurio. I'm your host for the show, and I'm really glad to have you along today. If you haven't subscribed to the show, I would encourage you to do that so that you always stay updated with new content. And if this show has really been impactful for you and it's really been positive, you've enjoyed the content, then would you consider leaving a 5-star review or rating over at iTunes? That would really mean a lot, and it helps the show climb up there in the rankings, and more people get to find the show and the content. It would really be wonderful, and thank you so much to those of you who have already done that. Now, Keys to the Shop, on top of doing this podcast, also offers consulting and coaching for you and your business. Whether you are just starting in coffee as a new entrepreneur, or you're an established business owner who wants to level up your operations and your quality, Keys to the Shop Consulting can help walk you through exactly what you need to take things to the next level or to get things started on the right path. And helping you thrive and helping your business thrive is really what Keys to the Shop Consulting is all about. So whether you want barista training on site or you want consulting remotely, we can talk about what that looks like. Just send me an email, chris@keystotheshop.com. We can set up a time to get on the phone and talk about what your situation is and how Keys to the Shop Consulting might be able to help you do amazing things in coffee. So again, that email for Keys to the Shop Consulting, chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prima Coffee. Prima Coffee has established itself as one of the world's best specialty coffee equipment suppliers, not only because they curate amazing equipment from all over the globe, but also because they work so hard to get you the right equipment for your context. And when you go to the website, prima-coffee.com, you'll see not only that great selection, but a ton of resources to help you learn about coffee, about the equipment, to help equip you do an amazing job with your coffee business. So whether you're in the market for espresso machines, brewers, grinders, or things like under-counter refrigeration and other restaurant equipment, Prima Coffee has what you need. Go check them out over at this website, prima-coffee.com/keys. And when you use the code KEYS5, you will get 5% off your order. So again, I highly recommend if you're in the market for commercial equipment for your coffee business, you use Prima Coffee. Use the code KEYS5 to get 5% off your order over at prima-coffee.com/keys. Today's episode is also brought to you by the Pacific Barista Series, plant-based performance beverage powerhouse. At this point, plant-based beverages are ordered more than regular milk, almost, and in some cases, definitely. And you have to be really purposeful about what you put behind the bar and what you serve your customers. If you want the best quality, then you've got to make sure that you're carrying something that has been put through its paces. Now, the Barista Series definitely fits that bill. It is made for baristas and tested by the world's best baristas before it even gets released onto the market. So when you're using it, it'll stand up to the heat from the steaming process. It'll create silky texture, perfect for latte art, and keep the beverage focused on the coffee. Your customers look to you for a specialty experience, and when you're using the Barista Series behind the bar, you're going to guarantee them that special experience for sure. Go visit their website and find out more over at pacificfoodservice.com. Okay, everybody. Well, today I wanted to talk to you about hospitality. Obviously, hospitality is what we do. Maybe it's an overused word. We need to define it. What is hospitality? We are hosting people. We are hosting people in our space. Even if it's not in our space, if we're just doing walk-up window service because of COVID, we are still welcoming them into the experience of our coffee shop and our business and our brand. This actually also extends out to your social media. And I've always said this, and a lot of people that I respect who are experts in social media have also said this, that the experience of your brand is oftentimes just primarily through the digital medium, and the coherence between the experience that you have in the shop and your social media is really, really critical. The overarching principle here, though, is that we are in hospitality because we host people. So when they interact with our brand in any way, we are hosting them. So now, even if we are shut down partially, then we are still hosting them in some form. So hospitality is still our focus. And in this time, hospitality is probably more important than ever because people miss hospitality. The needs that we have for community and connection have never been more apparent. And we want to be able to provide some kind of an experience that connects people, that is able to touch their heart and their mind and be able to meet them where they are. So today for Holiday Hospitality Part 2, it's Part 2 because episode 58 was the first Holiday Hospitality back in 2017, I believe. But today we're going to be approaching holiday hospitality from the point of view of what kind of opportunities this brings us, because so much of this year has been about upheaval, an involuntary upheaval, and turning the involuntary upheaval into a purposeful pursuit of something, not the new normal, but the better normal, and what we use how we use these hard times to create better times in the future. And so now we have the opportunity during the holidays to really amp up and lean in to hospitality more so than we ever have throughout this year. And so to start this off, I think the first thing that we really have an opportunity to do is to show empathy, care, and concern for our staff and our customers through our planning and systems. Basically, how we organize our business and prepare for the holidays. Whenever we are not prepared for business that we get, there's always the temptation to kind of say, well, why didn't we see this coming? And if it happens over and over again, it starts to read like management really doesn't care what happens here. They're not responding fast enough, or our needs aren't being met as customers because we're out of things, or our needs aren't being met as staff because we're being put on the spot and we don't have any good answers for the customers. The organization that goes on behind the scenes in management and leadership is what creates a solid platform for community to happen and for really great hospitality to take place. And so especially now, the organization behind the scenes needs to be doubled. It needs to be more intense than it ever has been. And it needs to be guided by empathy, for putting yourself in the shoes of the people who are interacting with your brand, namely the customers and the staff. How are they experiencing you now? And when I say you, I literally mean you, like you as an individual and you as a team of leaders. And I also mean you as the expression of the business, the policies, the procedures, the inventory, all of the systems that bind together the goodwill of the individuals into an actual working thing. Okay, the goodwill that we have as individuals doesn't mean anything unless we come together and work as a team to do that. Systems and organization behind the scenes are part of that process. So this is the kind of thing that can be assumed to be under control. But I think we should always practice a sort of a healthy skepticism toward our own preparedness, especially if you're higher up in the ranks of a coffee bar. It's your job to sort of see where the weaknesses are in the system, especially when it concerns such a high-pressure context like the holidays, when we have way more business than usual. And I will say, even though we don't have as much business this holiday season as we used to, like last year because of COVID, it feels like it simply because of the context of the pandemic. The emotional reserves that we have as professionals are lower than usual. Okay, the pressures of the job are the same and greater. So even though it doesn't, number-wise, match maybe the record day that we had last year, like the weekend before Christmas or something, it still will feel like it. Sort of like when you walk outside and it says it's 80 degrees, but it feels like 100. I really only care about the feels like temperature. I don't know about you. The point is, though, that how we get prepared for the holidays, especially now, when we want to host people well, we need to create systems and processes and organize our businesses according to the needs that our customers and staff are going to have. And those needs are fueled by the context they live in. And that context is a COVID context. It is also a hopeful context. And I know that that might sound a little strange to say, but I think that a lot of us have hopes to salvage parts of what we long to experience with abandon. We have hopes to experience them with reserve. Okay? So when we take those hopes, already fragile because of what's going on now, it's really a high task that hospitality workers and businesses have to handle those hopes with care and to really deliver that hospitality. And that's why I think it's more important than ever now. It's an opportunity to show that we are prioritizing this connection to our people, to our staff, to our customers. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to make this work, and it's going to show respect to everybody involved. Again, your goodwill is not going to run a coffee bar. Your organization, your systems, and your planning based on empathy, it's going to do that. So that's going to look slightly different depending on your menu, your location, your hours, all that stuff. But the principle is universal. Now let's keep on going with hospitality and what kind of opportunities we have in holiday hospitality at this time. One of the other opportunities that we have, sort of flowing from our last thought here, is that we are giving people the gift of significance. And it might be even argued that that is kind of our job with the coffee we serve, the way we treat each other, the way we treat the customer. We want the result of our interactions to be that people feel significant. Now, this is something we could bring up any time of the year, and I think a lot of us, most of us, would just nod our head and be like, yes, we want staff to feel significant. We want customers to feel that way. But now listen, the thing about our customers is that no person is an island. And when the holidays happen, people are thinking about their family. People might even be coming in with family members that they normally don't come in with simply because they're running errands and they're doing things like this. And when you get to meet some of the people that have been significant to your customers, it's a great opportunity to honor your guests in front of them, to talk about how much you appreciate those customers. And, if you meet somebody's mom, you talk about how great of a kid they have and all that stuff, and you treat them with great respect. It's an honor to meet people's family, especially if you're talking about regulars. I always thought as a barista, this is like this person, I'm learning a ton about them when I see their parents. Wow, this is crazy how I can see, they have their eyes, they have their features and their mannerisms, and it really is an important moment, I think. Now, some people just don't have the ability to do that right now because their loved ones are far away and they don't want to bring them in for fear of, gathering and in the restrictions. So in lieu of actually meeting their family, we need to be open to having conversations with people across the bar, allowing these conversations to happen that are connecting conversations, that are inviting them to talk about their family, to talk about their loved ones, because maybe just talking about it is all they have, and they're going to meet with them over a computer, but it's not exactly what they had in mind. But ultimately, giving people the gift of significance is what we should be about, and part of that also is not treating people like a nuisance, even though we might be a little bit on edge. Frankly, everybody's on edge, and we're all trying to figure it out, right? As we said all throughout the year, we are in this together. Giving people the gift of significance with what we do means we are considering all of our actions behind the bar and across the bar to be part of that gift-giving opportunity. So if it's our attention to the conversation, if it's our attention to their order, if it's our attention to detail in creating their order, and just showing that kind of attention to detail in general over the course of the whole interaction, that's going to make people feel significant in a time where people are used to being kind of herded as cattle. The consumerism of this time is kind of a depressing thing to think about, but we have the opportunity to pierce the narrative of that consumerism, which kind of relegates humans to numbers, ones and zeros and things like that. and reconnect with the common humanity, especially in the coffee bar. Coffee bars have always been that place that can pierce the narrative. And I think that's part of what we should do. And how we do that is we connect and we give significance to people with our attention, with our care, with an opportunity to connect with them on a greater level. And especially if we have the honor of meeting people that are significant to them, these are all great hospitality opportunities. Now, something else that we're going to need to be paying attention to during this time is that even though we have the perfect plan, even though we have really attached a lot of meaning to the idea of care through systems and empathy and all that stuff, when it's actually happening, it's not plug and play. It just doesn't run itself. We need to be constantly checking in on people, make sure they're doing well, make sure they don't have any questions, or if they do, how can we answer them? What kind of needs do you have right now? It can be a turbulent time, and your presence is very much needed as a leader. We talk on the show about being a present leader. When it hits the fan in times like this, present leadership is more present. And that includes being in problem-solving mode, resourcing mode, and just generally the conversation mode. Your people are going to have varying degrees of ability to handle the business right now, and we're really not going to know exactly how it's going to shake out until it happens. That's why our presence is so required. We can't base our plans on assumption. Oh, they'll be fine. That when you say, oh, they'll be fine, something is going to happen. I guarantee it. It's just like trying to make yourself a personal drink on shift when it's slow. That's a sure sign that people are going to come in and start ordering drinks so you can watch your cappuccino slowly die behind you. The same thing is true when you say, oh, they'll be fine, and you make an assumption about your team. You need to balance trusting them and giving them resources and entrusting them with the resources, etc., but also know that something might come up. And that's fine. You need to be available for that. So be a present leader, check in on your staff, be available, and don't make assumptions about whether people are good or not. You have to make sure that they are, and be open to their ideas too, I'll add. Ask the staff what they need to handle the increased business. As they work the bar, it's not that you might be closed off to feedback. You might be the most approachable person ever, but in survival mode, it's easy to forget to pass along information. It's easy to just kind of stuff it down, get through the shift, and even though you intend to bring it to the manager, you just don't. And so you can help people by being more present so that they can communicate more often the things that they might actually not have the opportunity to communicate to you. That's going to be very critical. So I'm going to end here by talking about something that might be one of the most critical things, and that is you need to take care of yourself. That doesn't mean neglecting all the stuff we just talked about, but it does mean prioritizing for yourself rest and being able to collect yourself to approach these holiday hospitality challenges and opportunities with your best energy. Part of the reason why leaders burn out is because there's no rhythm or schedule to what they do. It's just always be available all the time for everything. If we sit down and plan out our presence, if we plan out our checking in, so it's very frequent but not just simply random, it will be a lot less stressful. And you can plan out and carve out time for yourself if you just need a quiet space alone to think through a challenge or problem, or just to have silence. These are the types of things that you need to afford yourself, especially because in your position, a lot is put on your shoulders and people need you. Your business needs you, your customers need you, and your staff need you. What they don't want is for you to simply be everything to everybody all the time, nonstop. So I want to encourage you to explore what self-care looks like for you right now as a priority, what you need to be in the right mind state, how you can schedule your time so that you've prioritized that in your schedule so that it happens. You are still you. You haven't been imbued with superpowers as a result of this year. Nobody wants you to pretend to be a superhuman. If anything, I think now people are way more apt to support each other's pursuit of self-care and taking a minute, taking time, those types of things. And so this might mean being vulnerable with your team and just being honest, like you might need to take a little time. So we have opportunity now in the midst of COVID, during the holidays, to really take people's hopes for an experience of significance, warmth and welcome and connection, and really come through for them. We have an opportunity to lean into hospitality like never before, how we care for our customers, our staff, and ourselves is critical to our success in that endeavor. And so I hope that this episode has been helpful for you and given you some things to think about in this time. There's some episodes that I've linked to in the show notes that I would encourage you to also listen to that are in relation to this topic, some around self-care, holiday hospitality episode from past years as well. And again, I hope that this has been a useful episode for you. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback about the show or any of the episodes on the show, etc., you can just email me, chris@keystotheshop.com. That's also my email address if you want to reach out to talk about Keys to the Shop consulting. Again, that's chris@keystotheshop.com. And with that, it's the end of our show. Thank you so much, everyone. We've got some great episodes coming up here. I think we have a really great shift break coming up this week called When Going Above and Beyond Goes Too Far, which might be slightly related to the self-care aspect of our hospitality discussion. So stay tuned for that, everyone. And thank you so much for being listeners to the show. I appreciate all of you. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.